How's it going?
Good.
How are you?
Mayor Mamdani has now been in office for 2 full weeks. We'll tell you about his busy day leading the city in just a few minutes. Also tonight, the director of the city's childcare office, Emily Liss, will join me to talk about Mayor Mamdani's plan to offer free childcare for 2-year-olds. And later, we'll take a closer look at legislation looking to ban 3D printed guns statewide when I'm joined by State Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal. For the best news, debate, and analysis of New York politics, join us inside City Hall. Good evening and welcome to Inside City Hall for Thursday, January 15th, 2026. I'm Bobby Kuza in for Errol Lewis. Mayor Mamdani had a busy day as he crisscrossed the city, meeting some of his new neighbors, supporting delivery workers, and continuing to fill out his administration. Our Kelly Mena was trailing the mayor all day, and she joins me now with more on tonight's top story. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Bobby. And Mayor Mamdani likes to keep a busy schedule, no different than any of his other days. Today, that included meeting some local residents near Gracie Mansion and suing an app delivery company.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Mayor Zohran Mamdani has been a resident of the Upper East Side for less than a week, and he's already getting a warm welcome. Neighbors lined up outside Gracie Mansion on Thursday to officially welcome Mamdani. Joining in on the moment were also some of the neighborhood's younger residents.
I thought your favorite animal was a zebra because Zoran starts with a Z.
It was then off to the train where Mamdani joined shop hangers on their morning commute before starting his day with announcing a new lawsuit against restaurant delivery app Motoclick.
Today, we are announcing our legal filing against Motoclick, another delivery company, for having stolen tips and money from their workers and failing to comply with minimum wage pay laws.
We are not only suing Motoclick, seeking full pay and damages for the workers they cheated, but we're suing the company's CEO. No executive should be exploiting workers to line their own pockets.
Officials claim in the filing that Motoclick charged workers a $10 fee for canceled orders and even deducted the cost of refunded orders from a worker's wages. New York One has reached out to Motoclick for comment and has not heard back. Mamdani followed that up with a new appointment to his administration. Afia Atamensa was named the city's commissioner and chief equity officer in the mayor's office of equity and racial justice.
We will chart a new course from City Hall, one where racial equity is pursued with seriousness and intent, where agencies and offices will work collaboratively, and where deadlines will be met as opposed to ignored.
Reshaping systems that for far too long have erected barriers instead of building on-ramps for opportunity will not be easy. But as the mayor has made clear, this administration is committed to doing big things.
Mandani assigned his new commissioner with a major goal, a preliminary report on equity and racial justice within the first 100 days.
I will turn to Afia to organize this office into a force of genuine political change.
And part of that goal that Mamdani gave the new commissioner actually goes back to the law that was set back in 2022, where the city had to provide a biennial report from this office every 2 years, Bobby.
So, Kelly, going back to the mayor on the subway, we saw the video of him interacting with the public. What was that like? Was there generally a good reception from people on the train?
Yeah, they were really excited to see him. He's only been there a few days. He moved in on Monday. One woman actually asked him about this new 2K and 3K applications. How does that work? She herself has a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And then he gave a really interesting anecdote about running the marathon in 2024, where when he was getting to Greenpoint, there was a man smoking a cigarette, and he thought, at 10 miles, I've done so well, let me take a puff. And that didn't end up so good for him. So a very normal guy on the subway, it seemed, earlier today.
And you mentioned there at the end this racial equity report that the administration says it'll put out in the next 100 days. Mayor Adams did not put out a report, even though it was required by law, and ended up getting sued by the members of this panel that had been created.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned that. The head of the commission from that 2022 commission was there, Jennifer Jones-Austin, obviously supportive of this new move. And they sued because it was due so many years ago, and the mayor just refused to put it out for his own reasons. Maybe it was because of the political tension that there was, or focus that there was at the time on DEI, and maybe Mayor Adams didn't want to draw more more attention there. But she and I think many others are hoping that with this report, many people and the public will be able to see any gains that the city has made when it comes to racial equity and racial justice, and see where they can actually make changes.
All right, Kelly Mena, thank you so much for that report. Also tonight, Mayor Mamdani weighed in on a troubling report by a federal monitor overseeing Rikers Island about the worsening conditions inside the city's jail complex. Our Courtney Gross joins me now with more on that part of the story. Good evening, Courtney.
That's right, Bobby. This report from the federal monitor was the 20th report from the federal monitor, and it came out yesterday and obviously detailed how Rikers Island is still riddled with dysfunction. In fact, within this report, there's a list of what the monitor says is wrong with Rikers Island. I'm going to read from it here. Among the items on this lengthy list is correction officials normalize poor practices and conditions. They normalize high rates of violence and uses of force, and they are unable to construct a clear and candid assessment of the current state of affairs. So clearly a blistering review here. So we asked the mayor today for a reaction to this report and whether or not this means that the current correction commissioner should keep her job.
We are deeply troubled by the conditions at Rikers Island, and we will work with the monitor to improve them. We are going through the report, and we will also be going through the plan to not only come into compliance, but also to end solitary confinement at Rikers.
So no answer there about whether Linnell McGinley-Liddy should keep her job as the current commissioner of the city's Department of Correction. But of course, the next question is yes, he's been mayor for 15 days, but when is he going to visit Rikers Island? In fact, we have some old video of the last time Zohran Mamdani did visit Rikers Island, and that was from 2023 when he was still an assemblyman from Queens. He didn't represent Rikers Island, but his district was certainly very close by. And when he was asked about this today, he recalled what happened on that visit.
I absolutely will go to Rikers Island. I went to Rikers Island as an assembly member a number of times. And what I can tell you is that when you go to Rikers Island, you understand the scale of devastation that we are talking about. The last time I went to Rikers Island, an incarcerated New Yorker tried to take their own life in front of a former colleague of mine. That is what we are talking about.
And that's certainly a story we have heard time and again from those who are incarcerated on Rikers Island, but clearly no date yet on exactly when the mayor will visit.
And Courtney, we know that these reports from the federal monitor and this idea of a federal receiver coming in and taking control of Rikers Island was resisted by Mayor Adams. We're not seeing that same resistance now from Mayor Mamdani.
No, not at all. In fact, we got a statement from City Hall yesterday saying that not necessarily they're looking forward to the appointment of the receiver, but they will absolutely work with the receiver once that person is selected by the judge. We know the judge, Laura Taylor Swain, who's been overseeing this case for more than a decade now, is in the process of interviewing applicants. From what our understanding is from sources that we've spoken to, there are about 30 people who applied for this position over the summer. Unclear how many people she's actually going to be interviewing and when she's going to select this person to basically take over Rikers Island.
All right, Courtney Gross, thank you so much for that report. Meanwhile, today, a federal appeals panel has reversed a lower court ruling that resulted in Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil being released from an immigration jail. This is video of Khalil's arrest last March at his apartment. He would then spend 3 months detained in a Louisiana immigration jail. Today, a 3-judge panel decided that the federal district court in New Jersey that ordered Khalil's release did not have jurisdiction over the matter. The panel in Philadelphia said federal law requires his case to be addressed by immigration courts. That means Khalil could be rearrested and detained while he awaits a final decision on his immigration status. His lawyers have said they will exhaust all appeal options. It is time now for a break. Coming up, we will take a closer look at the first full meeting of the new city council under Speaker Julie Menin and the reshuffling of committee chairs. Stay with us. We are back in a minute.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on 1. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Spectrum TV, isn't that only live TV?
No, it's only all my favorite streaming apps with live TV.
Okay.
It's only all included at no extra cost. And that's the magic of math.
Will this be on the test?
Sure. Why not?
It's only one simple payment for all our TV. We gotta simplify and win. Winning is equally important.
If not, more so.
Yeah!
Only Spectrum TV, fixed TV.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on 1.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Well, welcome back to Inside City Hall. The newly elected City Council held its first full meeting under the speakership of Julie Menin. The day included a major shakeup of committee chairs and, in one case, penalizing a Republican member for her social media posts. Our Dan Rivoli covered the meeting today, and he joins me now with more on that story. Good evening, Dan.
Good evening, Bobby. One thing the reporters noticed, the press conference and the stated meeting started on time, a departure from the late starts under the previous council leadership. Under Menin, she introduced her new leadership team. Newly elected members got some pretty important committee chairs. And also, we learned more about why she penalized Vicky Palladino, the Queens Republican, over her social media posts. A new city council held its first meeting. First order of business, a group photo in the rotunda. Then lawmakers got down to the real business under the leadership of new council speaker Julie Menin of the Upper East Side.
We have new committees. Some of us have new seating chairs.
Menin's speakership is starting with a shakeup in leadership and committees with new chairs for allies and new members.
This is about competency. It's about city services. It's about making sure government works for New Yorkers.
While taking away committee seats from one lawmaker, Vicky Palladino, because of the Queens Republicans' political commentary. Palladino got spots on 2 committees, Veterans and Fire.
There are numerous, too many to count, content on her social media that is abhorrent and is unacceptable. And so I made that decision about the committees with that in mind.
I actually requested that I only have 2 committees, so...
Palladino told New York One she'll still attend any hearing that interests her.
Criminal justice, you'll see me public safety, you'll see me education.
Palladino backed Menin as speaker. So you don't take it personally?
Not at all. Not at all.
Palladino's post after the terror attack on Jews in Sydney, Australia last month, calling for expulsion or sanctions of Muslims living in Western nations, was referred to the Council Standards and Ethics Committee.
I could say whatever I want under the First Amendment right, and I do, but I'm always polite to my colleagues in council.
These are the new members leading committees like Parks and Sanitation.
We have an amazing new class that is coming into the City Council with really fantastic experience and expertise.
Menin also created new committees on early childhood education, disabilities, workforce development, and one called Combat Hate.
Hate crimes are up all across our city. It's unacceptable, and we as a council are going to do something about it.
Speaker Menin also started the news conference with some more details about the council staffer from Venezuela who was detained by immigration authorities on Long Island. Menin said she couldn't offer too many new details, but confirmed that he is in New York, has filed a habeas petition for release, and retained counsel. Bobby.
So, Dan, I think generally the thinking is that a council speaker will reward their friends and allies and maybe even punish their political opponents when they dole out these committeeships. Was that sort of the case here? And what about the council members who ran against Menon, who actually opposed her in the speaker's race?
Sure, Bobby. Let's start there. Some of them, they actually did get some committee assignments, some committee chairs. So look at Crystal Hudson of Brooklyn, ended up getting the Welfare Committee, which oversees Department of Homeless Services, Department of Social Services. That's still important. Christopher Marte, Lower Manhattan, got a subcommittee on landmarks, and Tiffany Caban got mental health. So they were still able to get some important roles, but really the allies of Menon really took some top spots. Let's look at Sean Abreu. He's the majority leader and also chairs the Transportation Committee, really important for subways, buses, especially those free buses Mayor Mamdani wants, and then the majority whip Camilla Hanks of Staten Island. That was a pretty big deal for a Staten Islander. A lot of Staten Island lawmakers don't get prominent posts in the council.
And as far as the business, the legislation that the council is going to take up under Julie Menon. We didn't get that yet today, right? This was more about positions of leadership at the council meeting today?
Exactly. We got to find out who's in the leadership, who's chairing the 40 committees, and also it was a real, friendly atmosphere. You saw that they had a big group photo in the rotunda, and they got to meet all their new colleagues, some old, some newly elected, and it was quite chummy. Even we're talking about Vicky Palladino, right? Got heavily criticized for those social media posts by her progressive colleagues, but I caught a snippet on my B-roll of Lincoln Wrestler, progressive from Brooklyn, offering her some popcorn from his bag and some friendly chit-chat. So a very amicable scene for the opening day.
All right, Dan Rivoli, thank you for that report. Meanwhile, there is a new effort by prosecutors and lawmakers to crack down on cryptocurrency-related scams in New York State. The Crypto Act would criminalize unlicensed cryptocurrency businesses, which officials say have increasingly been used to launder money. Our Ayanna Harry joins me now with a closer look at that story. Good evening, Ayanna.
Good evening, Bobby. Here in the financial capital of the world, local prosecutors say they need more tools to deal with the ever-evolving world of cryptocurrency fraud. They are dealing with money laundering, romance scams, and ATMs that look legit.
You scan your phone here with the QR code so it knows where to send the Bitcoin.
It's been hailed as the potential future of finance, but there's another side to cryptocurrency.
Shadowy financial system that is fueling crime.
New York One went inside the Manhattan District Attorney's Office Thursday for a briefing with its Crypto Crime Bureau, DA Alvin Bragg, and State Senator Zelnor Myrie.
People think that it is only crypto bros that are getting ripped off.
Local prosecutors are racing to keep up with the sophisticated new ways in which criminals are using technology.
This is a cell phone jammer?
And cryptocurrency. Crypto ATMs like this one have been recovered in laundromats and bodegas. Insert cash. It's converted to much harder to trace crypto.
These racks only go into the machine with no ID and no cameras.
Investigators have found anonymously owned, unlicensed crypto ATMs being used to launder drug money and pull off investment and romance scams.
The scams that are happening almost on a daily basis are happening to everyday New Yorkers.
DA Bragg is now calling on the state Senate to pass the newly introduced Crypto Act. Currently, businesses that exchange, transmit, or trade crypto in New York State, like these ATMs, need to be licensed. The Crypto Act would make operating without a virtual currency license a crime.
Moving $1 million of crypto would be a C felony, 5 to 15 years imprisonment.
Cryptocurrency has been tied to several recent high-profile crimes in New York City. Police say last year a man was kidnapped and tortured in Soho for 2 weeks for the password to his Bitcoin account. And former Mayor Eric Adams recently defended his involvement in the launch of the NYC token after an account linked to the token's creation withdrew $1 million worth of coins as the valuation surged.
It's not surprising that crypto's in the news generally, right? We're talking about, what, $3.1 trillion sector.
And DA Bragg said passing the Crypto Act would bring New York State in line with 18 other states where it is already a crime to operate a virtual currency business without a license, Bobby.
So, Ayanna, we know the federal government is not doing a lot of regulating the crypto industry under President Trump, who's been very crypto-friendly. So is this a case of local law enforcement, local prosecutors stepping in to fill that gap? Or are we talking about totally different types of crime?
So in some ways, we're talking about different types of crime. So, for example, the alleged rug pull that may or may not have happened with the NYC token, which Mayor Eric Adams helped launch earlier this week, that is a matter that I'm told from sources would not be investigated by a local organization or a local prosecutor, but that instead that will fall under the federal government. So there are several different types of cryptocurrency-related crimes, and the crimes in the Crypto Act really would fall under the state, but this is a much larger, much broader industry that does have some national implications. And yes, we are seeing a looser regulation with President Donald Trump being a pretty avid fan of cryptocurrency and speaking out in support of it.
And what's happening on the state level right now in terms of legislation? I haven't heard, say Governor Kathy Hochul talk much about crypto regulation, but people like Zohran Mamdani are pushing things on the state level.
Yeah, and so they're trying to fill this gap because what prosecutors here in Manhattan are seeing increasingly is that they are having people come to them, say there are real issues with scams. The romance scam has been happening for a long time, where someone is pretending to be somebody that they're not on Tinder or Bumble. They develop a relationship with someone and then they ask them to send them money. Now the extra layers, they're asking them to send the money through a cryptocurrency ATM, so that once that money becomes cryptocurrency, it's much harder to trace. It gives this alleged scammer, more levels of anonymity. And so the laws really haven't caught up with and given prosecutors the amount of tools that they would like to have to go after that. That's what DA Bragg was saying today, and that's part of the reason why he felt it was so important to stand with State Senator Zohran Mamdani and support this legislation so that there can be more tools. There are civil penalties, but, they don't really go the full way, according to Bragg's office.
All right, Ayanna Harry, thank you so much for that report. It's time now for a break. Coming up, we will talk about a new bill in Congress that would force federal immigration agents to wear QR codes on their uniforms that would bring up the officer's name, badge number, and agency. We'll tell you all about it next. Stay with us.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of going to the theater. Onstage celebrates that excitement every week by taking you behind the scenes with the latest news and in-depth interviews of the hottest shows on and off Broadway. So grab a seat, because this is a show you won't want to miss. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for Onstage.
Onstage is presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Discover which Cadillac is right for you and elevate your journey.
It's only a hike. It's only made possible by Spectrum Business connecting healthcare providers of all sizes. Like hospitals relying on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network with industry-leading reliability. Practices keeping patient data safe with advanced security. Pharmacies accessing records in the cloud without fail. It's tailored connectivity solutions built for life-changing moments. It's only a hike. It's only everything. Spectrum Business.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time.
And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan.
Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York One to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood, because our city never stops moving.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories, but first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Congressman Richie Torres wants federal immigration enforcement officers to display QR codes on their uniforms. He's introducing legislation that would require officers to disclose their names once that QR code is scanned. The move is in response to backlash over ICE agents wearing masks to hide their identities. Shannon Ryan in our Washington, D.C. bureau joins me now with the latest on that story. Good evening, Shannon.
Good evening to you, Bobby. Yes, with recent violence involving immigration officials, Bronx Congressman Richie Torres tells me he hopes this will be a tool not just for transparency, but de-escalation. As President Donald Trump cracks down on undocumented immigrants, violent, sometimes deadly encounters with immigration officials, including the killing of 37-year-old Minneapolis mother of 3, Renee Good, have stoked anger.
Get the out of Minneapolis.
And protest.
Taxpayer dollars are being used by the Department of Homeland Security and ICE to brutalize American citizens.
Bronx Congressman Richie Torres is introducing legislation he believes would reduce the likelihood of violent interactions between immigration officers and the public.
If you ask an officer for a physical ID, it creates an encounter that could escalate.
If passed, the Congressman's QR Act would require Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Customs and Border Patrol officers to wear uniforms with QR codes that, when scanned, would generate a digital ID displaying the officer's name, badge number, and agency.
There's an urgent need to unmask ICE, not only physically, but also digitally.
The Trump administration allows immigration enforcement officers to wear masks cloaking their identities, calling it essential for the officers' safety.
They're being threatened, their families are being threatened.
However, critics argue the masks embolden officers to act violently, even illegally.
Why should we treat ICE any differently? Most law enforcement officers are unmasked.
With Democrats in the minority and the Trump administration supporting officers' desire for secrecy, Torres' legislation is unlikely to pass, at least for now. With this likely not getting off the ground, what do you hope it accomplishes?
Look, the bill is about bringing greater accountability and transparency to law enforcement. And so Republicans have to ask themselves a simple question. Are you for transparency or are you against it?
And Bobby, Torres tells me that this isn't unheard of, pointing to other countries that already use QR codes on police uniforms, like the Dominican Republic.
So Shannon, as you said in your conversation with the congressman, this is unlikely to really go anywhere, but there's a lot of other ICE-related discussion happening on Capitol Hill right now.
There certainly is. So right now, Democrats are trying to hold up funding for immigration enforcement. There's also an effort to impeach DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. That's something that Torres has also signed on to, Bobby.
All right, Shannon, thank you. Meanwhile, immigrants hoping to bring family members to the U.S. are worried about new immigration restrictions announced by the Trump administration this week that would suspend the processing of immigrant visas for citizens of 75 countries. One of those countries is Bangladesh, and the city is home to the largest Bengali population in the country, with more than 100,000 Bangladeshis living across the 5 boroughs. New York One's Emma Barnett has more in this report.
Mohammed Siddiqui immigrated to the United States from Bangladesh over 30 years ago. He now has 2 kids and wanted his mom, who still lives there, thousands of miles away, to be close by.
I wanted to bring her over here so she could see them.
He got her an interview with the U.S. Embassy in Bangladesh.
It took me almost 2.5 years.
Her interview was scheduled for February 3rd. But the Trump administration announced this week it's indefinitely freezing visa applications for people from 75 countries beginning January 21st. One of those countries is Bangladesh.
I was shocked. I'm like, okay, this thing happened with my mom, And so basically she wouldn't be able to come.
The State Department wrote in a statement, it will use its long-standing authority to deem ineligible potential immigrants who would become a public charge on the United States and exploit the generosity of the American people. On X, the State Department wrote, the freeze will remain active until the U.S. can ensure that new immigrants will not extract wealth from the American people. Siddiqui argues those who have visas also pay taxes.
But at the end of the day, even those people, those who take the help from the government, but they pay taxes. it's not like those people don't pay taxes.
Immigration activist Shanyat Tarani Chaudhary, whose family is from Bangladesh, says these policies will hurt New Yorkers who are hoping to have family members move here.
These policies, they just create fear and uncertainty and silence. So people are becoming less willing to speak out when immigration status or travel feels just conditional or like a political obedience.
Ullah Shalam is from Bangladesh and has a green card. He says there are a lot of smart people in his home country who want to come work in the United States.
Our Bangladeshi students are very good with mathematics and everything. They can do everything here in the United States of America. And now the sad news, our Honorable President Trump, he just stopped the visa. Then maybe he will fix it later.
The suspension does not impact business, tourist, or student visas, which are temporary. It specifically applies to U.S. immigrant visas for foreigners who hope to live in the United States. In Queens, Emma Barnett, New York 1.
It is time now for a break. Coming up, we will turn back to Governor Hochul and Mayor Mamdani's plan to launch free childcare for parents of 2-year-olds. I'll talk it over with the new executive director of the Mayor's Office of Childcare, Emmy Liss, next. Stay with us.
My time at New York 1 has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Burke.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
It's only a slice. It's only made possible by Spectrum, connecting businesses of all sizes, like small businesses, instantly serving up orders and inventory on the Spectrum Fiber broadband network. And factories, seamlessly connecting to farmers in the field with tailored solutions that always deliver. It's only a slice. It's only everything. Get your business free fiber-powered internet forever. Call to find out how.
I'm Chris Jakimick. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakimick, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Right here, child care costs between $26,000 and $40,000 a year. That's more than it costs, that's double the cost of a SUNY or CUNY college education. They get worn down by it, right? This takes a toll, but you know what? At some point they might just say, I can't do this anymore. I have to leave a place I grew up in, a place I love. That to me is tragic.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. That was Governor Hochul last week announcing the first phase of a plan for statewide universal childcare, where she committed to funding the first 2 years of the program in New York City, partnering with Mayor Mandani to help fulfill one of his signature campaign promises. Joining me now to discuss all of this is Emmy Liss. She is the newly appointed Executive Director of the Mayor's Office of Childcare. Thank you for coming in. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So you've got a big job. Tell me what it entails, because universal childcare, obviously, the mayor's big campaign promise. Governor Hochul is on board. It's an enormously complex undertaking. Is it your job to now put this into practice?
Yes. So Mayor Mamdani campaigned on a vision of universal childcare, a system where every family has access to free, high-quality care for children under 5 in a range of childcare settings and cared for by caregivers who are well paid and respected. And that's what we're out to achieve, which is no small task, but the mayor and governor's shared announcement last week puts us really well on our way there, with a commitment of over $1.2 billion to ensure that the city's 3K system is truly universal. Applications opened yesterday, and all families with a child turning 3 or 4 this year should apply. And it also allows us to start expanding care for 2-year-olds this fall.
So that program for 2-year-olds is being branded 2Care, right? And the governor announced last week she would provide funding in the first year. It would be for 2,000 students, right, for the 2Care program, and then expanding year after year. Is that basically the scope of the program that you are now tasked with implementing, or could it change if there's more funding streams, whether from the city or from elsewhere?
So the mayor's commitment is that by the end of his first term, we'll be serving every 2-year-old in New York City with access to that program. So we will scale it up over the next couple years until we reach every family who'd like to participate. And then from there, the vision is to continue growing until we're serving all children under 5.
So explain to me, just like on a very basic level, how this is going to work, because there's obviously child care centers, there's home-based child care. So does the city just hand out vouchers and you use that money and then pay the provider, or is this all going to be centralized and the city will administer all of these programs? Like, how is this going to work? What's the vision?
Yeah, so the city's 3K and pre-K programs are built on a partnership between the city and child care providers. So today, families can participate in 3K and pre-K at a public school, but also with a child care provider in their community, including home-based providers for the city's 3K program. And our vision is to keep growing that partnership. We will build access for 2-year-olds in partnership with community-based child care programs, especially with home-based providers, which we know is often the setting that families really prefer for their youngest children. As we design this, though, we really need to be out in communities talking to families about what they want, and listening to how that varies across different neighborhoods, talking with providers about the services they offer and how that meets the different needs of their communities. So we'll be continuing to design as we engage in those conversations.
And there obviously aren't enough spots now, right? So this is going to involve creating many more spots, many more providers. I mean, how do you even go about doing this? You've got to create facilities, you've got to hire people. What is that going to look like?
Absolutely. We need a comprehensive approach that's going to take all of government to implement universal child care, which is really the function of the office I'm now leading at City Hall, is to ensure that we are partnering across every city agency to make this vision a reality. So thinking creatively about all of the physical spaces in our city and where there's where we have ability to grow child care of every type. Thinking comprehensively about workforce development and how we're partnering across all of the many institutions and partners to build a pipeline of educators and continue to grow and sustain the educators in the field. This is going to be complex and require partnership from everyone, and we're committed to that.
So you have some experience, some relevant experience. You worked under Mayor de Blasio during the universal pre-K rollout. Talk about some of the lessons learned from that experience and how you can apply them now.
Absolutely. So the universal pre-K rollout, I think, similarly called on every part of city government to ensure that we could scale up and provide access quickly to all 4-year-olds. And so that's really the model I'm taking now as I think about how we bring in the Department of Health, the Department of Buildings, the Fire Department. I think everyone thinks about the Department of Education, which was where I was during the de Blasio administration, but it really takes all of those agencies to get this done. I think the beauty and what people really took away from the universal pre-K expansion is that it was universal. And so we so quickly went from a system where families were paying $20,000, $25,000 out of pocket for pre-K to a public good and something that families knew they could count on. And that built a really strong constituency for the program. And when we think about our commitment to scaling our new investments to be truly universal. I think we're taking a lot of those lessons to heart, that when you show families and communities what government can deliver, it really changes what's possible.
So Mayor Mamdani, when he was a candidate, talked about not only 2-year-olds, but from 6 weeks all the way to age 5. That was sort of the concept of universal childcare. We're not going there yet. It sounds like we're starting with 2 care down to, to the 6 weeks. Does that come later? What sort of timeline are we talking about?
So the commitment that we have right now with the funding that the governor's committed and our continued partnership with the governor will allow us to start scaling. But the goal is to grow, to serve every child under 5, and that will require real investment. And so the conversations will continue between the city and the state about how we can get that done.
I think part of the reason that universal pre-K was hailed as such a success is because it was done quickly. I mean, it was something like 18 months that you stood up the entire program and made it citywide. Is that sort of the same template where you're just moving fast and trying to get this, trying to get this built as quickly as possible?
We're trying to move quickly because we know that families need relief. Families are spending, as you heard Governor Hochul say a few minutes ago, $26,000, $30,000, even $40,000 a year on care. So we want to deliver this quickly for families, but we also recognize that we have to do this in close partnership with child care providers, and we have to be working closely with community. So we will scale up this 2-year-old program over the next couple of years. Again, the goal is by the end of the mayor's first term, we will reach everyone. So it'll be quick, but it'll be in a spirit of real partnership with community.
Big job ahead of you. Yes. We wish you the best of luck. Emmy Liss, thank you for coming in and spending some time with us.
Thank you so much.
All right, it is time now for a break. Coming up, we will talk about what Governor Hochul left out of her State of the State address earlier this week and how lawmakers are reacting. Stay with us.
After 30 years of forecasting for New York, I've learned it takes a dedicated team to cover all the weather our city has to offer. As chief meteorologist at New York One, I'm honored to be able to help New Yorkers plan their day.
Morning, noon, or night, our team is here to bring you accurate forecasts you can count on, from severe weather updates to our Weather on the Ones. Watch the New York One weather experts with your Weather on the Ones on your TV and on the go with the Spectrum News app.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything. Movies, series, sports, reality, news.
Here's a look at today's top stories.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
And even more of your favorites with live TV. Stream across your devices and enjoy anywhere.
See you later.
Get it all with Spectrum TV.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable.
The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Governor Kathy Hochul wanted New Yorkers to focus on her State of the State proposals on Tuesday, but some state lawmakers and industry representatives pointed to what Hochul did not talk about during her nearly hour-long address. That includes whether Mayor Zohran Mamdani should get mayoral control over the city's school system and whether to implement any new taxes. Our State House reporter Bernadette Hogan has more in this report.
got a re-election coming up, and I think she will ultimately do what she needs to do to stay in office.
Although Governor Kathy Hochul's office released a notice cheering over 200 proposals, her gubernatorial opponents instead pointed to what Hochul left out of her fifth State of the State address on Tuesday.
The governor talked about protecting our immigrant community and supporting New York for all. I didn't hear a commitment to childcare that is statewide.
Republican challenger, County Executive Bruce Blakeman.
And we talked about the fact that basically Governor Hochul's speech was devoid of any solutions to any problems that everyday New Yorkers have.
Omitting whether she thinks Mayor Zohran Mamdani should be granted mayoral control over the city's school system, typically a major tenet of any Big Apple mayor's education platform that Mamdani opposed before he supported it.
Should he get it for full 4 years? Should he get it for a clipped amount like de Blasio or Adams did?
Well, first we'd have to see at what form we're looking at, what changes have been made. The last 2 times the mayoral control has come up, they added a whole bunch of new, what I would say, bureaucratic processes. That has not been helpful.
Lawmakers say,
should he get 4 years?
I don't know. We'll have to negotiate. This budget focuses on making 3K universal, so we're not fighting over vouchers. We're not fighting over funding. We're actually putting seats in districts where it matters the most and everywhere else.
And although Hochul's team is keen to report that new taxes are not on the table for the 2026 to 2027 financial plan.
So this year's financial plan, this year's budget, even into next year, they're not necessary.
Mamdani's legislative allies and fellow Democratic socialists disagree.
I have not found her a good ally in the state legislature, especially her continuous capitulation to the rich over working class New Yorkers.
Questioning future funding of the new childcare program for 2 years.
Especially hearing her say she only wants to pay for the first 2 years of the initiatives in New York City, that's a major point of concern for me.
Others want more focus on the city's current free childcare program for 3-year-olds, highlighting parent frustration over existing issues, like a limited number of open seats in high-demand neighborhoods.
We know that families like mine are fleeing the city because childcare is so expensive.
The governor also failed to mention consistently missing greenhouse gas emission reduction goals that have been in state law since 2019. One Hochul official defending the slow pace.
But we need to plan against a future of realism, and realism means that diverse energy sources are necessary to preserve those outcomes.
Bernadette Hogan, New York 1.
Meanwhile, a federal judge has cleared the way for the Empire Wind project to resume construction. Construction on the offshore wind project could go forward while the judge considers the merits of the Trump administration's suspension order. Last month, President Trump froze 5 offshore wind projects on the East Coast, citing national security concerns. Governor Hochul praised the judge's decision in a video posted to social media.
And I'm sick and tired of having to go to court time and time and time again to stop these decisions. They're designed to do nothing other than hurt workers, hurts our states, hurt our economy, and hurt our energy future.
It is time now for a break. Coming up, state lawmakers are pushing for legislation that would ban the manufacturing of 3D printed guns across New York. I will talk it over with State Assembly member Linda Rosenthal next. Stay with us.
We have so many ways to stay connected. A single touch can bring us closer to the families we love, the friends we know, and the city we share. And Spectrum helps us keep connected throughout the day, every day. Including more ways to watch New York One as a Spectrum Internet customer. Watch Spectrum News New York One on the Spectrum News app, available on all your favorite devices.
There's an international travel plan with Spectrum that was an additional $10 a month as opposed to paying a ridiculous amount per day for roaming fees. This literally
really felt like my old phone carrier was reaching their hand into my wallet and just helping themselves to some of my cash. I like having no surprises when it comes to my cell phone bill. And with Spectrum, that's been the case. So it saved me a ton of money.
Real customers, real savings. To see how much you can save, visit spectrum.com/save.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day with in-depth coverage of the day's news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Tomorrow, some morning sunshine possible. Clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum and Xfinity customers.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. New York has some of the strictest gun laws in the country, but state lawmakers want to take things a step further, cracking down on 3D printed guns that are often difficult to trace. In her State of the State address this week, Governor Hochul called for 3D printers sold in New York to be equipped with technology that prevents them from creating guns or gun parts. My next guest has been a leader in the fight against 3D printed guns. Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal represents parts of Midtown, Hell's Kitchen, and the Upper West Side. And she joins me now to talk about all of this. Welcome back to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Bobby.
So first, explain what we're talking about when we say 3D printed guns, how these are made, and they're virtually impossible to trace, right?
Absolutely impossible. There's a category called ghost gun. Ghost guns they can be metal, they can be 3D printed, they can be parts. They are unserialized, meaning there's no number, so you can't identify them. They're unregistered, and they're untraceable. So under ghost guns, we have the new thing, 3D printed guns. And what that means is 3D printers, which you can get for a few $100s. You can put it at home, and you can print a gun. Literally print a gun. You know, the machine receives instructions, digital files. You can pick a color, any color. There's no metal involved, so it's not detectable. And you can print yourself a gun that looks like a toy, but is actually a lethal weapon.
Do we know how widespread these are, how many are in circulation, or how often they're actually used in crimes here in New York?
I think recently, I think from 22, NYPD picked up 1,600 ghost guns, but they are increasingly the weapon of choice. And because they're untraceable, we don't have a good number, but they're very dangerous.
So talk about the legislation and what Governor Hochul is talking about. I mean, this would regulate the manufacturers of the printers themselves, right?
It would, well, in 2021, I introduced and passed a law that banned the possession and the sale of ghost guns. So this measure that I'm the sponsor of would prohibit the dissemination of the information on how to print it and the manufacture of these ghost guns.
Right. And there's also sort of a separate but related issue where you can take an existing gun and there's a part that then turns it into basically a machine gun, right? So this would also address that.
Yes, well, this would address all the parts that you can create, and then there are a couple of other measures the governor mentioned. Yeah.
But how do you address it if if these are just component parts and they could be used for many different things? How do you regulate against that when we're talking about the parts and not the the creation of the gun itself?
Well, we're really talking about the gun itself because those are used. You can print the bullets or you can use other bullets, and people who want to commit crimes and not be found out, or people who would not pass a background check. So whether they've committed domestic violence, whether they've harmed an animal, that's one of my red flag laws, or they're felons, they would not be allowed to buy a gun. This is their way in.
And are we talking about criminal penalties here? There are already criminal penalties for those who possess and use the guns right now, but this would expand that.
This would be a D felony for manufacturing them and a Class A misdemeanor on disseminating the information. And, you know, the information is available on thousands of sites online with thousands of designs. So, you know, whatever, pick your favorite gun design and you can make it.
Talk about what the pushback has been. I mean, I imagine the 3D printer manufacturers don't like this type of legislation, but do the regular gun manufacturers support this? Because they probably don't like, you know, having these off-market weapons.
Well, that's true, but, you know, people in the gun business don't like any kinds of regulation. So while they may grudgingly think, okay, this competes with my metal gun that I, as gunsmith, perhaps may put together, you know, this is already out of control. But these measures are strongly supported by the DAs. I work with Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg on this, and all the gun groups are really focused on 3D printed guns now.
And this legislation obviously now has the support of the governor.
Absolutely.
We have a Democratic-dominated legislature. Are you feeling pretty confident about this getting passed? I'm pretty confident, but I do think the Republicans, and some of them are MAGAs, will debate me on the floor. And we always have to go through that, where they, you know, despite us having a gun violence problem in this country and Congress's refusal to address it, which is why we have to do it in the state, you know, it'll pass despite their problems with it. All right, before I let you go, let me talk to you about politics for just a moment. There's a state Senate seat in Manhattan that is open now because Brad Hoylman-Siegel ran and won for Manhattan Borough President. I know you were considering running for that seat. Are you officially out of the running? What was your thinking
I'm officially. It was a tough decision. I've been in the Assembly for a while. I'm chair of the Housing Committee. Housing is one of my passion issues, and it affects so many people, and I felt that I could have a bigger influence on housing if I stayed as chair in the Assembly.
And now we have Eric Botcher, the city councilman, who is running for that seat.
He will run in the special election, February 3rd, but then all of us have to run for re-election and the primaries in June.
Right. Our busy election year.
Yes.
All right, Linda Rosenthal, thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you.
All right, that is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks for watching, everybody, and have a great evening. We will see you the next time on Inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. We've done at the sports section.
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Your entertainment the way you want it. With Spectrum TV, all these streaming apps are included at no extra cost. So you can watch anything.
Hey, brother. Be careful.
Movies.
I've got this condition where I don't feel pain.
You're a superhero.
No. Series.
There was another murder in the building.
Sports. Reality.
Here's to a summer you'll never forget.
News.
Here's a look at today's top story.
Exclusive originals.
We await your orders.
Even more of your favorites with live TV.
Welcome into First Take.
Stream across your devices and watch anywhere. At home or out and about. It's the entertainment experience you've been waiting for. Streaming apps.